Hi, President Abraham Lincoln. I am Gabby Volpe. It is so nice to meet you at the White House. I would like to ask you a couple of questions. You can answer these as thorough as you want. Number 1, where were you born?
I was born in a one-room log cabin with tightly packed dirt as a floor in Kentucky. I was born in a cradle made of corn husk. I not long after moved to Illinois.
In what year were you elected President of the United States?
I was elected in the 16th president during the Civil War. I was elected in 1860 and began my tries to end the Civil War.
What did you sign that did not allow all slaves to be free but some?
I signed something called the Emancipation Proclamation. This allowed slaves in rebellious states to be free. I know I had intentionally said that people could keep their slaves, but the South had to have a punishment for their actions. But the border states could keep their slaves until the 13th Amendment was passed, saying all slaves were free.
What all happened when and while you were elected?
First off, the southern states didn't like me that much to begin with. They didn't like me so much, nobody there was even allowed to vote for me. So when I was elected, the South started to secede. The first state to secede was South Carolina. A total of 11 states seceded, and they formed their own country called the Confederate States of America.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Gettysburg Address?
Sure, and I can even recite it for you. But first, let me tell you where I said it. One of the most famous speeches I gave was in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So here's the recitation. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation, so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who were here, gave their lives, that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to detract. The world will little note nor longer remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. And is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus so far nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. This speech of mine was saying that the people who fought on the battlefield should be remembered.
Unfortunately, Lincoln was here assassinated. Here are the details in first person. I had just went to a movie theater, actually a very famous movie theater, Ford's Theater. Anyways, I climbed the staircase to the president's box and sit down. There was a guard half asleep outside the stairs. But then, very famous actor John Booth arrives at the scene. He pays someone to hold his horse and goes inside. He climbs the stairs to the presidential booth and walks behind some people's seats. He was noticed, but not in a suspicious way. He climbs the flight of stairs and goes into the presidential booth, walking right past the guard. And that's when it started to drive suspicion. Was Mr. Booth invited to sit with the president? Lucky him, is what some people thought. He gets almost directly behind me and pulls the trigger. That is when the guard comes out. He tackles Booth, but Booth pulls out a dagger and stabs him. Then he jumps off onto the stage and makes him escape. He jumps onto his horse and rides off. Thank you so much. You've been a great help. See you later.